Margaret Watson sat by the window, watching the winter sun shine through as she reread a message from her mom. "I have a special surprise for you, look forward to it," the message said. It made Margaret smile softly. Margaret lived in the small town of Willow Creek, Pennsylvania, where she worked at an accounting firm. Her job involved managing money and giving clients advice. Her coworkers called her Reliable Maggie because she was always calm, careful, and dependable, especially when problems came up. This wasn't new for Margaret. Since she was a child, she had always done her homework on time, joined school committees, and helped at home when her parents were away. She was the dependable oldest daughter who could be trusted with everything. Her younger sister Lisa was the opposite. Lisa was a fashion designer in New York, outgoing, stylish, and full of confidence. Even in school, Lisa had stood out with her looks and fashion sense. Now she was about to launch her own brand. Just last month, Lisa had sent Margaret a picture of one of her dresses in Vogue magazine. "Look, my design was featured in Vogue," Lisa had said. Margaret had sent back a kind message to say congratulations, but deep down, she felt a bit lonely. Her life, while stable and respectable, felt ordinary compared to Lisa's exciting one. Their parents, Walter and Eleanor, were always proud of Lisa. At family gatherings, they loved to talk about her success. Their eyes would light up when they spoke about her. "Lisa has such amazing talent," Eleanor would say. But for Margaret, they always used the same words: "Maggie is so dependable." That word, dependable, always seemed to come with expectations. She was the one expected to clean, cook, and care for their home and them. Margaret sighed as she looked at her travel bag. She was going home for Christmas, and she already knew what that meant: chores, cooking, and cleaning. She had always played that role, but lately, she had started to feel differently. She wanted time for herself, for her hobbies, her friends, and her own life. She hoped maybe, just maybe, the special surprise her mom mentioned would be something meaningful for her. Margaret packed the last of her things and began her drive through the snowy town. She hoped this Christmas would be different. Christmas morning. The Watsons' living room was cozy with a glowing fireplace and the smell of pine. Outside, snow fell quietly. It was a picture-perfect Christmas. Margaret had already helped clean the house and prepare food. She was tired, but the warm feeling of Christmas morning gave her a small spark of joy. "Everyone, breakfast is ready," Eleanor called out from the kitchen. Margaret finished decorating the tree and walked in. The table was full of delicious food: eggs Benedict, fresh croissants, fruits, and bacon. "Maggie, thank you, the table looks lovely," Eleanor said, but then she turned to Lisa, who had just come downstairs. "Lisa, your sweater is beautiful. Did you design it?" "Yes, it's from last month's collection," Lisa replied, smiling as she sat down. "Merry Christmas to our star designer," Walter added with pride. "You were even mentioned in the news this morning." Margaret smiled politely and said, "Merry Christmas, everyone." During breakfast, the talk was all about Lisa, her shows in New York, celebrity collaborations, magazine interviews. Margaret tried to talk a little about her own work, but no one paid much attention. After breakfast, they moved to the living room where the Christmas tree stood tall with presents underneath. "Time for presents," Walter shouted, putting on a Santa hat. "First, for Lisa." Lisa squealed with excitement as Walter handed her a long envelope. "What is it?" she asked eagerly. She opened it and gasped. "No way, a 2-week vacation at a luxury resort in Bali, and first-class tickets?" Inside were also expensive travel checks. Lisa jumped up, thrilled. "I can't believe this." "You deserve it," Eleanor said, hugging her. "We wanted to celebrate your success properly." "You've made us so proud," Walter added. Lisa beamed and turned to Margaret. "Can you believe this? What a gift." Margaret nodded and smiled warmly. She truly was happy for Lisa. "Now for Maggie," Walter said, pulling out a medium-sized box with a shiny ribbon. Margaret's heart beat faster. Maybe this was the surprise her mom talked about. She carefully unwrapped the box and opened the lid. Inside was just a single sheet of paper. It was a household chore list, with her name at the top. Margaret blinked in disbelief. The list was long and detailed. "Now you can help us even more," Walter said cheerfully. "You've always been so organized. While Lisa's in Bali, we're planning a trip to Florida. It's a big relief knowing you'll take care of the house." "Thanks, Maggie," Lisa added. Make sure my room's nice and clean when I get back." The room went quiet. Margaret looked at their faces. They were serious. They truly believed this was a gift. "Thank you, it's very practical," Margaret said softly, her voice slightly shaking. "I need some fresh air." She stood up and walked out. Once in her room, the tears came. Looking out at the snow, she took deep breaths. Years of bottled-up emotion rose to the surface. She grabbed her suitcase and started packing quickly. Then she sat down and wrote a short note. "To my family. Thank you for the Christmas present. I've spent years being the dependable daughter and sister, but today, I've decided to live for myself. I won't be in touch for a while. Please don't worry. Margaret." She placed the note on her pillow, took her suitcase downstairs, and quietly left. Her family didn't even notice she was gone. They were still busy with gifts. Margaret stepped outside, loaded her car, and drove off through the snowy streets. As she left Willow Creek, watching the lights of her childhood home fade in the rearview mirror, she felt both scared and free. She didn't know what would happen next. But she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't live like that anymore. And this Christmas, for the first time in her life, she chose herself. Walter looked up from his seat. The New Year's party, a big family tradition at the Watson home, was just around the corner. Invitations had already been sent, and relatives had booked flights. For years, Margaret had handled everything: planning, cooking, cleaning, and making the event run smoothly. "Oh no," Walter muttered, "without Maggie, we can't have the party." Just then, the phone rang. Eleanor picked it up. On the other end was Lisa, her voice full of excitement. "Mom, Bali is amazing. The beaches are perfect, and the hotel staff is so nice." But Eleanor wasn't listening fully. Her mind was on the party. "Lisa, have you heard from Margaret?" "No, not yet. Isn't she back?" Lisa's voice got quieter. "No, and the New Year's party is coming." "Oh," Lisa replied, realizing the problem. "It'll be hard without her." After the call, Eleanor and Walter tried phoning Margaret again. This time, the phone rang once before cutting off. "At least it's turned on," Eleanor said, and then she typed a message. "Maggie, please get in touch. It's important." There was no reply. As New Year's Eve got closer, things became more stressful. There were only 3 days left. The house was a mess, and nothing was ready for the guests. "We can't wait anymore," Walter said. "We need to find her." They called her office but were told she was on vacation. When they called her friend Sarah, she just said, "You should respect Margaret's wishes." "I'll try calling again," Eleanor said. This time, the phone rang, and Margaret answered. "Hello? Maggie," Eleanor cried. "Where are you? Please come home." Margaret stared out the window and took a breath. "This is about the party, isn't it?" she asked calmly. "Yes, but also about you," Eleanor replied quickly. "We're worried about the house and about you, too." Margaret paused. "When I left, was your first worry about me or the housework?" There was silence on the other end. "Please, Maggie," Walter said, "come back. We can't manage without you." Margaret closed her eyes. She felt torn between helping her family and protecting her new sense of self. "Let me think about it," she said. "I'll give you my answer tomorrow." That night, she lay on her hotel bed, thinking deeply. For the first time, she had the power to choose what she wanted. The next morning in Philadelphia, Margaret sat by the hotel window, holding a warm cup of coffee and watching the city. Over the past few days, she had taken time to think. She realized she had spent her whole life trying to be the good daughter, always putting others first. "I'm 38 years old, and I never really lived for myself," she thought. She opened her notebook and reread her notes, about the life she dreamed of, what really mattered to her, and the importance of self-respect. The day before, she had spoken with Sarah Fisher, a kind counselor she met at a nearby cafe. Sarah had listened and said something that stuck. "Setting boundaries is a way to love yourself. Sometimes, saying no is the bravest thing you can do." Margaret had made her decision. She would go back, but only on her terms. She opened her laptop and wrote a letter to her parents. "Dear Mom and Dad. For many years, I found meaning in helping our family, but what happened at Christmas showed me how little my efforts have been recognized. I will come back and help with the New Year's party, but only if you agree to these conditions. I am not the maid. I want to be treated equally as a daughter. Everyone must share the housework. My time and efforts have value and should be respected. My life choices and successes should be appreciated, just like Lisa's. If you can't agree to this, I won't come home. I'll live my life on my own terms. I await your reply. Love. Margaret. She took a deep breath and hit send. It was the first step toward her new life. The reply came quickly. Maggie, of course, please come back. We agree to everything. The house doesn't work without you. Love, Mom and Dad. Margaret smiled to herself. The message still showed they didn't fully understand, but this was just the beginning. Back at the Watson home, Margaret stood in front of the house. It looked the same, but she felt completely different. She took a deep breath and turned the doorknob. Inside, the place was a mess. Papers were everywhere, dishes piled up, decorations were falling, and the Christmas tree looked dead and forgotten. Maggie, Eleanor ran over to hug her, but Margaret took a step back. Mom, Dad, we need to talk. Surprised, her parents sat down at the table with her. Margaret spoke calmly but firmly. What I wrote in the email weren't suggestions, they're my new boundaries. We were just worried, Eleanor said softly. Were you? Margaret asked, because your messages quickly turned from "where are you" to "what about the chores" and "who will clean Lisa's room." Walter tried to interrupt, but Margaret gently raised her hand. Please let me finish. For 38 years, I've been the reliable one, always doing what's expected, but my own needs and dreams didn't matter. She looked directly at them. At Christmas, Lisa got a luxury vacation. I got a chore list. That's how you see me, helpful, useful, not as someone with her own life. The room went quiet. Her parents looked stunned. We didn't mean it that way, Eleanor whispered. Intentions don't matter, Margaret said gently. What matters is how it made me feel, and what changes we make now. Walter finally asked, so what do you want? Equality, Margaret replied. Let's share the work, let's prepare for the party together, and respect my life and choices the way you respect Lisa's. Walter looked down and slowly nodded. You're right, he said. Eleanor added, we've taken you for granted. I'm sorry, Maggie. Margaret smiled softly. It's okay, what matters is how we move forward. Later that day, the three of them gathered around the kitchen whiteboard. Together, they made a chore chart: cleaning, cooking, shopping. It was all divided fairly. We'll add Lisa's tasks when she returns, Margaret said. Her parents hesitated, but agreed. Honestly, I don't know how to do half of this, Walter said. That's okay, Dad, Margaret said kindly. You don't have to be perfect, trying is what matters. Eleanor looked at her daughter and smiled. Maggie, you've always been strong, she said, we just didn't see it before.